I bought a new phone, but my girlfriend said I didn't love her and compared me to other boyfriends. My dad transferred 10,000 yuan to me so I could buy a new phone. After my girlfriend found out, she lost it. She asked, "You spent 10,000 just on a phone. Did you buy it just to play games again? Can't you use that time to spend more with me instead?" My friend's boyfriend uses a crappy phone himself but always gets her the best. And look at you. I haven't even changed my phone yet. What gives you the right to get a new one? I looked at her, puzzled, and asked, "Your friend's boyfriend is her boyfriend. What does that have to do with me? And I'm using my family's money. What does it have to do with you? Why shouldn't I get a new phone?" She was left speechless by that, but I didn't expect what came next. When I got back to my dorm later that day, I realized my phone was gone. I called the police right away, and I could literally see my girlfriend start to panic. Chapter 1. My dad had sent me 10,000 yuan so I could buy a phone. I ended up getting an iPhone 16 Pro Max. Willow came with me to pick up the package. The moment we got to the pickup station, she instantly pulled the phone out from the pile of parcels. Looking at the label, she pouted and said, "Why'd you choose black? I don't like that color." I didn't think much of it and casually replied, "I like it. I'm the one using it anyway." That set Willow off, ignoring the fact that the pickup station was crowded. She raised her voice and snapped, "Why the hell would you buy such an expensive phone? Why can't you learn from my friend's boyfriend? He hasn't upgraded his phone in years. And look at you. I haven't even gotten a new phone. And you think you deserve one?" She bit down hard on the word "I," but before I could process what she meant, she launched into another rant like a machine gun. "Do you even realize how hard it is to make money these days? My parents only make 4,000 yuan a month, and you think you can just get a new phone whenever you feel like it?" I looked at her, genuinely confused, and said, "Just because your parents make 4,000 a month doesn't mean mine do. And just because your friend's boyfriend never changes his phone doesn't mean I have to follow suit. I'm spending my family's money. What does that have to do with you?" People were coming and going, but all of a sudden, everyone's attention was on us. Willow's face turned beet red. She opened her mouth to say something, realized all the eyes on her, and instead, slammed the phone box to the ground and stormed off. We did not part on good terms that day. Chapter 2. That night, Willow kept sending me messages, but I ignored them. I sat at my desk, staring blankly at a documentary, my thoughts tangled and impossible to sort out. Willow is a junior at our university, pure, pretty, sweet, and popular. We've been together for 3 months, still very much in the honeymoon phase. Aside from our recent argument over the phone, I haven't noticed any other issues. Makoto, who sleeps in the bunk next to mine, kept looking at me. Whenever I looked back, he quickly put his phone away. His gaze felt resentful, like I had somehow wronged him. Annoyed by his passive-aggressive behavior, I finally asked, "Do you need something?" Makoto shook his head but paced back and forth by the window. Suddenly, he pointed outside and said, "George, Willow is downstairs waiting for you." I walked to the window and looked down. It was drizzling outside, and Willow stood in the rain wearing a short skirt. Her hair was already damp, the ends clinging slightly to her cheeks. When she saw me, she lifted a small cake in her hand and smiled, such a sweet smile that it made my heart ache. I hurried downstairs to cover Willow with my umbrella. She held my arm and apologized softly. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have lost my temper with you." Before I could respond, she gently continued, "George, I'm not blaming you for buying a phone. It's perfectly normal to get one for yourself, but there's no need to spend that much money. If you don't believe me, ask your roommates how much they spent on their phones. If you make such an expensive purchase, people will just assume you're showing off." I felt torn because my roommates really do use cheaper phones. Willow went on in a sweet, soothing tone, "George, I really love you. You're the one I want to spend my life with. It's because I see a future with you that I'm giving you this advice. Your parents work hard to earn money. We should be considerate of them and avoid wasting it." Thinking about my parents, who leave early in the morning and come home late at night, I started to feel somewhat persuaded, but I also wanted to test her. So I asked, "What if I return this phone and get you a different color instead?" Willow lit up immediately, as if I'd finally come around. She couldn't wait to continue. "That's great, babe. You finally see reason. Think about it. If word got out that you use a fancy phone while your girlfriend is still stuck with an old one, people would say you're stingy and not manly at all." In that moment, I became crystal clear about what was happening. Spending 10,000 yuan on myself is wasteful and not considerate. Yet if it's for her, it suddenly becomes generous and caring. Isn't that a double standard? Willow looked like she wanted to keep talking about the phone, but she probably noticed my expression and decided to hold back for the moment. We went back to the dorm, and our roommate David wasn't back yet. I had just taken off my jacket when Makoto suddenly sat up in bed and blurted out, "A girl asked me out to dinner." He looked smug, like he was bragging to me. I had no words, so I replied, "Cool, congrats." in the most perfunctory tone possible. Chapter 3. I headed to the bathroom to splash some water on my face. I noticed that David's towel was practically falling apart, yet he still hadn't thrown it away. And the shampoo bottle had been watered down countless times. I started doubting myself. After some thought, I decided to call my dad. I gave him a quick summary of what was going on. My dad's tone grew stern as he asked, "Son, first tell me how you see it." I admitted I was a bit lost. She said I'm wasting our family's money, which really bothers me. But my roommates are quite frugal, so maybe spending 10,000 yuan on a phone does look bad. My dad spoke carefully. "Son, first of all, every family's financial situation is different, and you can't make everyone live on the same exact budget. If anyone who spends more is automatically considered a show-off, then everyone except the most frugal person on earth would be labeled a show-off. Second, I can easily provide for you. A 10,000 yuan phone is a normal expense for our family. It's not a waste. Even without considering what your mom makes, the 2 restaurants I run bring in more than enough. Not buying that phone wouldn't really save much or change anything for us." He was telling the truth. For my dad, a 10,000 yuan phone really is just a standard purchase. He continued, "Our family doesn't need you to pinch pennies for the future. Your mom and I work so hard specifically so that you can enjoy life without struggling." I thought about the investments and dividends in my own account. 10,000 yuan is also a reasonable amount for me to spend. Finally, my dad said, almost casually, "Your mom and I work so hard so you can be a second-generation rich kid. We don't want you to suffer." His words touched me. After I ended the call with him, I phoned a friend next. As soon as my friend heard the story, he started laughing. "Dude, what's wrong with you? Are you out of your mind or just blind? You're actually dating a gold digger. She's whining about it being wasteful." Wasteful for who? Why doesn't she go tell Elon Musk to stop flying first class and take economy instead? Let's be real. It's only because you're her boyfriend that she expects you to spend money on her. She sees your money as hers, so she thinks if you're not spending it on her, you're wasting it. You two are just dating, and she already feels shortchanged if you don't spoil her. Imagine if you got married, she'd probably want you to transfer the house and car into her name. The money your parents gave you is none of her business, I replied. She's comparing me to her friend's boyfriend, who apparently gives his girlfriend everything, and that makes her feel resentful. My friend said bluntly, "Oh, so she's actually got her eyes on her friend's boyfriend. Why not just tell her to go snatch him, then? Or you can say, her boyfriend's girlfriend is the one buying him a house and a car, so why don't you buy those for me?" He made a lot of sense, and I decided that's exactly how I should handle Willow from now on. After I hung up, I felt like I'd already made up my mind. But breaking up with Willow wouldn't be easy. She's very popular, and plenty of guys would jump at the chance to date her. If I don't have a good reason, I'll probably face endless gossip. We still have 2 years of college left, and I don't want to live under that kind of scrutiny. Chapter 4. Willow had no idea I planned to break up with her. She carried on as usual, going out on a date with me. We took a walk along the Lover's Bridge by the lake. She looked happy and said, "George, how about we fly a kite this weekend and check out some local attractions?" But my phone isn't working that well right now. The photos it takes don't look great. She trailed off suggestively and then looked at me expectantly, blaming the phone for bad pictures. I was speechless. I knew she wanted me to pick up on her hint, so I deliberately changed the subject. "I'm heading home this weekend. Maybe next time." Willow paused, a bit unhappy, but I pretended not to notice. She forced down her frustration and looped her arm around mine in a show of affection. My entire body got goosebumps instantly. She said, "Babe, your family probably gives you quite a bit for living expenses each month, right? Since I'm going to marry you anyway, how about from now on, you hand that money over to me so we can start saving for our wedding. Once we have enough, we can get married." She added, "After that, I'll give you a monthly allowance." I felt an immediate wave of disgust. It's my money in the first place, why should I give it to her? My parents give me money, and then I'd be forced to ask her for an allowance. Why would I ever choose to live under someone else's control like that? I shook off her arm and firmly refused. "I can save on my own. I don't need your help." Willow snapped. "So you can save money, yet you bought such an expensive phone. Have you ever thought about our future at all?" I shot back. "That money is mine to save or spend however I want." End of story. Willow pressed her lips together and said, "Clearly you don't trust me at all, and you don't love me one bit." I had no desire to argue further and turned to leave. After just a couple of steps, I heard a shout behind me. I spun around warily and saw Willow leaning halfway over the bridge railing. One more lurch, and she'd be in the lake, which she couldn't swim in. In 3 big strides, I rushed back to grab her arm. The look of panic on my face must have pleased her, because I saw the satisfaction in her eyes. She was testing how much I cared for her. I urgently said, "Get back over here." If she really fell, I'd be the one held responsible. Willow pretended multiple times that she was about to jump, just to scare me. I pulled her back with all my strength. Only when some bystanders started approaching did she finally seem embarrassed enough to step away from the railing. She looked happy with my reaction and said with a smile, "Now you know how painful it would be to lose me. If you truly love someone, cherish them before it's too late." A second later, I wound up my arm and slapped her hard across the face. The crack was loud and sharp. Willow clutched her cheek in disbelief. Before she could react, I took off running. Back at the dorm, my scalp was tingling. Being a gold digger was one thing, but this girl was starting to feel mentally unstable as well. Noticing my grim expression, our roommate David asked what was wrong. I told him a bit about it, leaving out the part about Willow threatening to jump into the lake. David grimaced and said, "That's pretty messed up. He rarely says bad things about anyone, let alone a friend's girlfriend, so if he calls it messed up, it must be something really off the wall." Makoto had been silent up to this point, but suddenly he spoke. "If a man truly loves a woman, he'll willingly hand over all his money to her." He gave me a pointed look. "If a man isn't willing to spend his money on a woman, then he's hardly a man at all." That was when I put two and two together. No wonder Willow always seemed so well informed about me. Turns out there was a simp and a mole right here in our dorm. Too tired to argue with an idiot, I simply said, "You're absolutely right." It was like he'd just punched a pillow. Seeing both David and me ignore him, Makoto stormed out in anger. Chapter 5. Willow stopped contacting me, and I didn't reach out to her either. I was stressing about finding a solid reason to break up, but on Monday, when I returned to the dorm, the new phone I'd left on my bedside table, which I hadn't yet backed up, was gone. I called Willow immediately. "Willow, did you take my phone?" She gave a cold snort and said, "Yeah, I took it. Talking sense into you doesn't work. Tell me, where do you find a boyfriend like you, so stingy and cheap, not caring at all about your girlfriend's feelings? Your dorm mate Makoto is so much better than you." I let out a short laugh. "Where is it?" She said, "Forget it. I don't like that color, so I sold it." I was disgusted and at a loss for words. "You do realize taking something without asking is considered theft, right? I'm giving you 2 hours, either give the phone back or I'm calling the police." Willow shot back, "How dare you accuse me of stealing your stuff? Why are you saying such harsh things? If you had just agreed to buy me a phone, I wouldn't have taken yours. You owe me an apology, or I'll never speak to you again." Right, so she steals my phone, and somehow it's my fault. I refused to waste more breath on her. I hung up and called the police. "Hello, I'd like to report a theft. My phone, worth over 10,000 yuan, was stolen." It wasn't until she saw the police that Willow realized I wasn't joking. She glared at me in disbelief. "Really? You'd call the cops on me over a phone?" I answered firmly, "Yes, I would." The police officer tried to mediate. "If you took your boyfriend's belongings, just return them. There's no need for a couple to escalate like this." Willow didn't even blink before denying everything. "I didn't take his phone. Stop trying to pin this on me." I almost laughed from anger and played back our phone call recording. Willow still tried to argue with the police. "I told you, I didn't take anything. A girl can't even go into the boys' dorm, so how could I have taken it?" Then her own voice played, loud and clear. "Yeah, I took it. Talking sense into you doesn't work. Tell me, where do you find a boyfriend like you, so stingy and cheap, not caring at all about your girlfriend's feelings? Your dorm mate Makoto is so much better." The officer gave Willow a strange look. Willow's face turned bright red. She lunged at me, trying to scratch me, and yelled, "You're so underhanded, recording our conversation." Before I could react, the two officers held Willow back, pulling her aside to scold her. Willow still refused to admit any wrongdoing. "I'm his girlfriend, so what's the problem with taking his stuff? If he had just bought me a phone, I wouldn't have taken his." She spoke with an air of complete righteousness. Which boyfriend behaves so selfishly? One of the officers raised his voice. "Being his girlfriend doesn't give you the right to take his property. If it's worth over 2,000 yuan, he can press charges. Besides, it's his money, so he can spend it however he wants. That's not your call to make." Willow glared at me, but she had no comeback. The officer sighed heavily and asked me how I wanted to proceed. I stated my condition plainly, within an hour. Either return the phone or give me back the money. They urged Willow to hand over the phone, but after a pause, she said, "I already sold it." The officer replied, "Then you'll have to repay him." Willow stammered but couldn't form a reply. Another round of questioning, and she finally admitted, "I spent the money." She had used the proceeds from my phone to buy herself a new one. I gave a contemptuous snort. Willow glared at me. "Are you really going to keep after me for that little bit of money? Imagine that, she's the one who stole. Yet now it's my fault again." I showed her the phone recording. "Pay up, or maybe your friends would like to listen to this too." Willow gave me a dark look, said nothing, and started making phone calls to borrow money. She's popular and has plenty of simps, so it didn't take her long to raise the funds. As soon as the 10,000 yuan arrived in my account, I placed a new phone order right there in front of Willow. Her face turned red, and she said meaningfully, "You'll regret this." I barely twitched my lips into a half smile and turned to the police officer. "Officer, you see, now she's trying to threaten me." Willow got a stern reprimand. Watching the scene unfold, I locked eyes with Willow and mouthed silently, "Bring it on." Chapter 6. David and I returned to the dorm nearly at the same time. He was carrying several delivery boxes and said, "These looked expensive, so I thought I'd better bring them in right away." Opening them, I saw that my dad had sent me a gaming laptop and some accessories. One item was a pair of Sennheiser headphones worth about 5,000 yuan. Makoto craned his neck, trying to peek. I snapped the box shut and glanced at him, and he withdrew to his bed without a word. I was about to call my dad to say thanks when Willow's number popped up on my phone. I glanced in Makoto's direction, then accepted the call. Willow began shrieking, "Your family's doing this on purpose, aren't they? So what if you have money? Does that make you special? You've got these stupid headphones that cost 5,000 yuan, yet you fuss over the little bit of money I took." George, really? What kind of boyfriend acts like you do? Don't think you're so high and mighty. In my eyes, you're just a pathetic, selfish cheapskate. I must have been blind to ever date you. My lips curved slightly in a smirk. The fact that Willow was cursing me out so viciously meant she was furious that she couldn't take advantage of me. She'd completely lost her composure. I laughed. "You know, even if I had money to throw at a beggar, I still wouldn't spend a cent on you, because you're simply not worth it." Ex-girlfriend. That made her even angrier. She was screaming and swearing on the other end. I hushed her and said, "We still haven't settled the last incident. Aren't you worried I might record this conversation too?" Willow instantly went silent. All I could hear was her angry breathing on the line. I said coolly, "Willow, I spared you a trip to jail last time. From now on, let's just go our separate ways. If you don't want things to get ugly, stop making trouble for me." She snapped, "Go to hell, you disgusting excuse for a man." Then she hung up. The dorm fell quiet for a moment. David sensed something was off and looked over at me. I tossed my phone onto the desk with a thud. Makoto suddenly jumped off his bed, slipped on his shoes, and made a dash for the door. I sidestepped in front of him, grabbed him by the collar, and slammed a fist into his face. Makoto howled in pain, flailing his arms at mine. He shouted, "Let go of me. What gives you the right to hit me?" David yelled for us not to fight and stepped between us, subtly blocking Makoto's wild swings. I pushed David aside, still gripping Makoto's collar, and shoved him against the bed frame. I said, "Why am I hitting you? Don't tell me you don't know. Otherwise, why are you running?" Makoto shouted, "Let go of me, David. You're just gonna watch him beat me up." Standing off to the side, David tried to calm things down. "George usually has his reasons. Why don't you two just talk it out?" Makoto kept struggling, so I gave him another punch. "You move pretty fast." "Huh? I just got my stuff, and you've already tipped off Willow." "What, are you into her? You can take whatever trash I throw away, but lay a finger on my stuff again and see what happens." Makoto shot back, "I didn't touch your stuff." I sneered, "If you didn't, how'd Willow get her hands on my phone?" He denied everything. "I don't know, but it wasn't me." I let out a cold laugh. "Still lying? Want me to check the surveillance cameras?" A flicker of guilt passed through his eyes, but he kept his mouth shut. I patted his face. "Don't want to own up? Fine. Anyone who messes with my stuff won't come to a good end." Makoto fumed, unable to retort. I stared him down. "From now on, behave yourself. If you stir up any more trouble, I won't let you off so easy next time." I let go, and Makoto took huge gulps of air. He glowered at me, then bolted out the door. Chapter 7. I called my dad to let him know I'd broken up with Willow. He let out a long sigh, then patiently explained, "I'm gonna be honest, son. I'm not against girls who care about money, but spending money on a woman should be because you want to, not because you're supposed to. You understand? Take Willow, for example. Let's not even get into her character. Her biggest flaw is how foolish she is. You two have only been dating for how long, and she already assumes it's natural for you to give her all your money. For what reason? I work my hardest to give you good living conditions so you can be comfortable. I'm not doing it so you can worship some goddess, nor am I trying to do charity relief through you. Of course, I support real charity, but I'm not about to let a woman use dating as an excuse to turn our family into her personal piggy bank. I'd rather donate to the Red Cross than give her a single penny." I listened quietly to my dad's heartfelt words, and he continued, "It's normal for people to be materialistic to some extent, but if a girl isn't stupid, she'd understand that when you want others to provide value, you should provide value in return, rather than standing on a pedestal making endless demands. If she understood that much, I wouldn't really have a problem with her. But clearly, that girlfriend of yours doesn't get it." I had to remind him. "Dad, she's my ex-girlfriend." He chuckled. "Remember this, never abandon your own principles just to please someone else. A simp who keeps groveling ends up with nothing. It's fine to spend money, but it has to be worth it." I was deeply moved by my dad's advice. Truly, My parents have my back more than anyone. Makoto ran out of the dorm that evening and never came back all night. David grew worried and tried calling him before lights out, only to have Makoto hang up on him. I calmly reassured him, "Don't worry, he's got somewhere to go." David gave me a puzzled look, so I showed him my phone. A classmate had sent me a photo, Willow and Makoto, arm in arm, entering a hotel. They were probably having a grand time trash-talking me right about now. David's face darkened. He frowned. "You just broke up with Willow, and now Makoto's with her. A normal person wouldn't do something like that, roommate hooking up with another roommate's ex right after the breakup." It bothered David even more than it did me, given his straightforward nature. Makoto came back the next afternoon, but neither of us acknowledged him. Shortly after, my phone blew up with constant notifications. David called over. "George, check the big chat group." At 4 in the afternoon, Willow had posted a lengthy rant in the group chat. She didn't name names, but everyone knew she was talking about me. She wrote, "I want to advise everyone, never date a selfish man. These men only care about themselves and never consider anyone else's feelings. They only know how to take and never give. During our 3 months together, I sacrificed so much for him. I stayed up late with him, took care of him when he was sick, brought him porridge and medicine. He once said he liked long hair, so I grew mine out for him. I gave him my time and emotions. Yes, his family has money, so he can buy himself a 10,000 yuan phone. But during our dates, I was the one who had to pay for milk tea. These 3 months were really hard for me, and I finally saw him for what he is. Maybe I'm just not good enough for him. So we broke up. I was speechless. Forget everything else. When we went to the movies, ate out, and even went to the amusement park, I footed the bill. Yet she's now complaining about that 1 cup of milk tea she paid for." A bunch of people in the group comforted her and blamed me. Plenty of simps chimed in, saying things like, "A man like that is way too selfish. You meet all kinds in a big world, I guess. Don't be sad. Willow, congrats on finally breaking free. Willow is a really sweet girl. I'm sure you'll find someone who appreciates you." Willow kept venting in the group. "Society is just so unfair to women. The job market discriminates against us, so men end up making more money. Yet if a woman asks a man for any financial support, she's labeled materialistic. Women have it so hard. We're the ones who bear children and take care of the house. Men don't have to worry about any of that. They just go out and earn a little money and act like they're kings at home. If a woman buys something nice for herself, the man says she's wasteful and doesn't know how to run a household. And then there's the whole issue of an expensive bride price, though if you think about it, that amount of money wouldn't even cover hiring a nanny. That's society. That's reality." Her posts got a lot of support from most of the girls and some of the simps. Along with that support came an onslaught of criticism aimed at me. Everyone decided I was too stingy and selfish, buying a phone for myself but not getting one for my girlfriend. I narrowed my eyes. Willow was more foolish than I'd thought. I'd already warned her we should just part ways amicably and not push me to turn ugly. David stayed calm and said, "George, maybe it's best not to respond. The campus is full of what some call feminazis, and Willow's popular. No one's going to speak up for you. Just wait a few days and let the drama die down." Makoto had been glued to his phone, snickering. He immediately backed David up. "Yeah, you'd better keep quiet." I caught a glimpse of smug satisfaction in his eyes. They didn't know that after I called the police that day, I'd recorded pretty much everything afterward, capturing Willow's true colors on video. Reading all the insults in the group, I just chuckled. I decided to let things simmer for a bit. Sometimes, you have to save your trump card for the moment it matters most. Those who harm others eventually face their own downfall. Chapter 8. The rumors kept getting worse instead of dying down. It seemed like someone was fueling the fire. One time, David and I were on our way back from the library. We ran into a female student we didn't know, and she sneered at me sarcastically. "George, how about buying me a meal?" Her challenging, disdainful look made it clear she was picking a fight. I gave her a smile and replied, "How about I treat you to a bowl of crap instead?" Strange incidents like that started happening more frequently. Meanwhile, Willow and Makoto began showing off their new relationship publicly, holding hands, going everywhere together. Makoto even gave Willow a fruit basket filled with perfectly peeled pomelo slices and pomegranate seeds separated one by one, glistening like little jewels. He acted the part of the flawless, devoted boyfriend. They posted pictures of it online, garnering envy from many. Some folks used the comment section to mock me indirectly. One comment read, "Wow, Willow's eating so well. Gotta say, a man who knows how to pamper a girl is the real deal, unlike a certain stingy guy." I saw that post. Then Makoto deliberately said to me, "Honestly, your breakup was for the best. Willow says a guy like you deserves to stay single forever. No woman would want you. Willow and I are a perfect match, and I'll make sure to treasure her." I stared at him calmly, like I was watching a dog barking. Makoto didn't realize that my parents invested tremendous resources in me not so I could become some woman's simp, but so I could grow strong and independent, my roots sinking deeply into this world. David couldn't bear it any longer and snapped. That's enough. I can tell you've had your eye on someone else's girlfriend for a while. If you've decided to take over for him, that's your choice, but flaunting it in his face is just shameless. Or do you need another beating? David's usually a fair and level-headed guy, so when he starts using harsh words, it means he's really fed up. Makoto instantly shut his mouth and left the dorm, saying nothing else. That night, a new rumor about me spread through the group chat. Several of Willow's girlfriends started making up wild stories, claiming things like, "Didn't you all know? George is totally gay, he's in a relationship with his roommate, David, and he's no rich kid. I heard he took out shady online loans, robbing Peter to pay Paul, already deep in debt. He acts all fancy, but he's just pretending to be rich so he can trick girls into sleeping with him. Ladies, stay on guard." The contradictions were laughable. I watched them hurl slander in the group, obviously under Willow's influence. David snapped, throwing a heavy punch as he shouted angrily, "George and I are gay." "Huh? Which girl said that? Come out and say it, I'd love to confirm it." "Oh, it's you pigs. Well then, I really can't confirm it. I'm we ethnic group, I don't eat pork." David's approach was to insult back harder, ignoring the truth of the rumors and focusing on counterattacks. He overwhelmed them with a flurry of cutting remarks until they went quiet. Initially, I only wanted Willow to suffer socially so she'd learn her lesson and behave, but now, I decided to take a more ruthless approach. Chapter 9. The school forums and various chat groups were suddenly flooded with posts praising Willow. Her supposed talents, beauty, and family background were exaggerated out of proportion, half-truths mixed with outright lies. Classmates who didn't know the truth started believing she was a Bai-Fu-mei, a rich, beautiful socialite from a wealthy family. Willow took the bait. She showed no caution about this sudden wave of adulation. Instead, she happily embraced it. She even went around belittling me, saying, "George is just a fake rich kid. He takes out online loans to maintain his image. He's probably faking it." When I heard what she was saying, I didn't get angry. I simply kept my head down, transferring money to someone and settling an account. I sent them a "keep up the good work" emoji. They replied warmly, "Got it." David, sitting next to me, asked, "What are you doing?" "The teacher asked me to pass you this file. He wants you to help make a PPT." I smiled and brushed him off. "Just chatting with a friend." I took the file and turned on my computer. Makoto sidled over with another sneer. He said, "Hey, how come those other buddies of yours don't hang out with you anymore?" He gave me a look that pretty much said he was enjoying my misery. Could it be they believed that rumor you're gay? That remark made it crystal clear he was involved in spreading these rumors. He was obviously kicking me when I was down. David chuckled. "If they're not here, they're not here. We've known them for ages. If they buy into a rumor like that, it just proves they're lacking in IQ. Being friends with people like that only drags you down to their level." Makoto got annoyed. "What's your deal, David? You see George has money, so you want to be his lapdog, is that it?" David looked angry as well. "You know perfectly well I'm speaking the truth." David had every reason to be confident. He's not well off, but he's never once borrowed money from me. He pays all his own tuition and living expenses from part-time jobs. Makoto, stung, muttered, "Anyway, you're just backing him up." David ignored him. I watched as Makoto opened his cabinet and made himself a cup of instant noodles. Ever since he got together with Willow, his standard of living had plummeted. She was always asking him for money, claiming she was hungry. Her phone screen was cracked. She had no clothes to wear. Her perfume or makeup had run out, so Makoto had stopped eating in the cafeteria, sending all his money to Willow while he slurped cheap noodles in the dorm. He called it nourishing the one you love, believing that if he truly loved her, he had to water her like a flower. Makoto even bragged to us that Willow had given him a 40 yuan allowance. I almost burst out laughing. That 4,000 yuan was originally his, and now she's doled out only 40 back to him. Yet he's unbelievably grateful. Makoto was in deep. He even started taking more part-time jobs, handing over all his earnings to Willow. A few times he proudly announced, "I'm earning money now, and once I've saved enough for the betrothal gifts, Willow will marry me. I'm going to buy her a house, too." I never contradicted him, just watched him slide further into the abyss. Ever since Willow's declaration about gender inequalities and men owe women everything, a lot of girls on campus began looking up to her. She frequently went out for gatherings with those supporters, where they'd badmouth selfish men. And every time Willow met her girlfriends for a meal, it was funded by the money Makoto had transferred to her. I estimated each outing cost at least a couple thousand yuan, but that wasn't enough. I wasn't in a hurry. I'm ruthless enough, and I can endure it too. Chapter 10. Makoto was like a pile of manure, and Willow was the flower planted in it. She kept absorbing the nutrients, blooming ever more brilliantly. Eventually, Willow stopped giving Makoto even a 40 yuan allowance. Whenever he needed to eat, he had to ask her in advance. One day, David and I were having a meal at the cafeteria and saw Willow and Makoto there. They only had one dish between them. Willow was happily enjoying most of it, and when she was almost done, she passed her leftovers to Makoto. Watching him silently eat her scraps turned both my stomach and David's. Before long, Makoto had grown shockingly thin. One night, David and I heard him get out of bed. David asked, "Why are you up so late?" Makoto just muttered, "Just getting some water." He sounded really hungry, gulping down water like he was trying to fill his stomach. David could relate, having experienced that kind of late-night hunger himself. So he offered, "You must be hungry, right? I have some cookies in my cabinet if you want." Makoto flared up as if insulted, snapping, "I'm already full. I don't need your stuff." He didn't drink any more water and flopped back onto his bed. I messaged David, "Don't bother. A simp doesn't deserve pity." David sent me a long string of complaints in reply. "Do you think Willow put some kind of spell on him? She's drained him of every last yuan, and he's still head over heels for her. Look at the life he's living now." I replied succinctly, "He's doing it willingly. Don't poke your nose in. He might turn on you and blame you later." David stayed quiet for a long time. Just as I was drifting off to sleep, he sent me a message that read, "George, you don't understand. Back when I first started college and couldn't afford meals, Makoto helped me out once. I, half asleep, chose to respect his decision and let him go ahead and try whatever he wanted." David turned on the overhead light, dragged a chair next to Makoto, and said, "I'd like to have a talk with you." He handed Makoto a mirror, who stared back, confused. David got straight to the point, "Look at yourself in this mirror. You look like a man who's had his life sucked out of him by some vampire witch. Where's the hint of a normal, healthy guy in his 20s? Makoto stiffened and stared at his reflection in disbelief, his expression darkening the longer he looked. David pressed on, "Now think about Willow, living it up on your money. Your parents work hard to send you to college and give you a decent living allowance, and yet you have to request permission from Willow just to eat. Are you insane? Do you honestly think this is what dating looks like? Have you ever seen a relationship like that? Look, if a man truly loves a woman and only has 3,000 yuan, he might be willing to spend 2,999 on her. But if she truly loves him, she wouldn't let him. She'd want him to keep something for himself, too. Willow's out there having fancy meals with her friends, and each meal costs hundreds, if not thousands, of yuan. Do you really believe the money you're giving her is going towards some wedding fund? Don't you wonder where your savings are really going?" Makoto said nothing for a long time. David spent a good while patiently breaking things down for him, and slowly Makoto's eyes seemed to clear. Feeling newly alert, I silently picked up my phone and posted a generous paying job listing in our part-time jobs group. David continued, in a chilly tone, "If she truly loved you, she wouldn't let you degrade yourself to simping like this. Think about it, does she really treat you as her boyfriend?" Sniffling, Makoto munched on David's cookies and said, "Thanks, David. I get it now. Tomorrow, I'm going to ask for my living expenses back." Chapter 11. The next day, David and I headed to class. On the way, we spotted Willow and some of her close girlfriends. From head to toe, she was decked out in luxury brands. Her makeup was flawless, and her vibe was impossibly confident. A few other girls swarmed around her, all laughing and talking like she was their center of gravity, exuding the aura of a wealthy young heiress. Willow, brimming with pride, caught sight of me from the corner of her eye and raised her voice for effect. "Girls, I'm treating you all today, so go wild." Her clique of girlfriends cheered enthusiastically. Makoto, looking anxious, tugged on Willow's sleeve. She brushed him off like he was dirt. Right then, a high-end car pulled up to the curb, and a male classmate stepped out. He approached Willow and said confidently, "Hey there, gorgeous. Mind if I add you on WeChat?" Her girlfriends teased and giggled suggestively. Willow cast me a mocking glance, as if to say, "See that? Regretting everything now?" I watched her impassively. I knew this would be the last moment she'd get to bask in the spotlight. Makoto charged out from the crowd and shoved the guy aside. "Get lost. She's my girlfriend." The guy, who'd been pushed, wasn't having it, and the two started arguing. David and I witnessed them begin to brawl, leaving David dumbfounded. Willow frowned like she was disgusted by Makoto's behavior, then turned around and left him there. David wanted to jump in and help, but I pulled him away. Chapter 12. Makoto and Willow got back together. Willow called to berate David, "You're disgusting. You don't even respect women. You'll die single for sure. And now you're trying to drag Makoto down with you. You turn-off guy, go to hell." David was furious. He had tried to help Makoto, only for Makoto to turn around and throw him under the bus. When David confronted him, Makoto glared coldly and asked, "Are you after Willow yourself, trying to steal my girl?" David was speechless, so angry he lost his appetite for days. Makoto was becoming more and more unhinged. Initially, he was just a simp, but now he also suffered from paranoid fear of being cheated on. Like a rabid dog, He bared his teeth at any man who so much as looked in Willow's direction. He started working 3 part-time jobs, pouring every penny he made into Willow's hands. Chapter 13. The library was quiet and refreshingly cool, filled with people immersed in study. I sipped my coffee in comfort, eyeing the information I'd gathered in chat conversations. By my calculations, Willow's rolling debt had reached around 300,000 yuan, and there was no way she could pay it back. Stretching lazily, I thought, time to move in for the harvest. Willow had been living large at school for months, until a sudden post appeared on the university forum. A junior named Martin, who'd been blocked by Willow on WeChat, publicly demanded she repay the money she owed him. In his post, he recounted in detail how Willow had repeatedly asked him for money, spinning every sob story, mother gravely ill, father dead, and so on, and he provided screenshots of their chats and proof of the transfers. This post was a bombshell. More and more people replied, admitting Willow had borrowed money from them, too. Some had never even met her in person but still let her cut them down like chives over and over, a Chinese metaphor for repeatedly taking advantage. A few had even borrowed money themselves just to lend to her. Grinning, I watched Willow and her close girlfriends trade insults with her creditors online. Many still defended Willow. After all, she had played the role of a generous spender for months, which had earned her a decent social circle. That was when I decided to drop my trump card. Another forum post appeared, this time directly accusing Willow of theft. It read, "Hello, everyone. I'm George, Willow's ex-boyfriend. We broke up because she ordered my roommate to steal my phone and sell it for cash." I uploaded a video of the police lecturing Willow, proving I wasn't making it up. I continued, "Willow is good at winning people over and manipulating emotions. 4 months, she's been threatening me and spreading rumors, claiming David and I are gay, saying I pretend to be rich by taking out online loans just to trick girls into sleeping with me. These lies have seriously damaged my reputation." Then I attached screenshots of the group chats where Willow and her girlfriends had defamed me. I finished with, "After months of effort, I've gathered enough evidence to take legal action against Willow." That was the killing blow. Willow's good reputation was destroyed overnight. Everyone now saw her true colors. People were disgusted. Who steals a boyfriend's phone just because he won't buy a new one for her? With Willow's reputation in ruins and her debt situation exploding, no one was willing to lend her money anymore. Her cash flow dried up. Debt collectors bombarded her phone, Makoto's phone, her parents' phones, and even her friends' phones with calls. Her parents hurried to campus, haggard and desperate, kneeling in front of school officials and begging through their tears. Willow, normally so proud, stood outside an office on the 3rd floor, too ashamed to face her parents inside. Suddenly, there was a loud thud. She had jumped from the 3rd floor window. Chapter 14. An ambulance rushed onto campus. They managed to save Willow's life, but she was left paralyzed from the waist down, with no hope of walking again. Her parents sold their house to clear her debts. Willow refused to come back to school under any circumstances, ultimately withdrawing from the university. Makoto also dropped out with her. They had studied hard for so many years, worked to get into a top university, only to ruin their own futures. Was it a pity? Maybe, but they had only themselves to blame. Meanwhile, I finally got to enjoy my college life. My name was cleared. People realized I'd been the victim all along. No more nasty gossip. One day, David hesitated before asking me, "George, didn't you post a certain part-time job listing?" I looked him in the eye calmly. "If you keep asking, we might not stay friends." David looked conflicted, then chose to remain silent. I never regretted what I did. For someone like Willow, you can't afford to show mercy. Everyone's character flaws are like a sword hanging over their head. Yes, I gave her the final push, but in the end, she brought it on herself. Now I can carry on with college life, clean and free of rumors, because I'm ruthless enough, and I can endure it too.